여러분 몇 달 동안 잠잠하던 No Rest for the Wicked의 그동안 진행해온 거대 패치들을 싹 다 합친 것보다 훨씬 더 큰 초대물 패치가 나온다고 합니다. 그래서 그 규모가 어느 정도인가? 네, 일단 이번 패치 이후 새로 나오게 될 지역의 크기만 해도 그동안 우리가 플레이할 수 있었던 모든 지역들을 다 합친 것보다 2배나 더 크다고 합니다. 물론 그 속에는 사람들의 요청에 따라 더 많은 스토리, 더 많은 장비, 그리고 더 많은 괴물과 보스들까지 아주 가득 채웠다고 하고, 또 그 전에 좀 불편했던 부분들도 거의 다 개선시켰다고 하는데, 일단 가장 큰 부분은 당연히 최적화 문제입니다. 제가 예전에 이 스팀 평가에서도 말씀드렸던 최적화가 아쉽다 말씀을 드렸는데, 이 부분도 많은 부분 개선시켰다 하고, 또 앞으로도 계속 더 개선시킬 예정이라고 하네요. 그리고 게임 내 시스템적인 부분들에 있어서도 예를 들면 이제 집안 보관 상자의 크기도 발기되었고, 집안에 텔레포트를 아예 넣어버려 바로바로 이동할 수도 있고, 장비별 밸런스 재조정과 건축 프로젝트 개편 등 뭔가 다 뜯어 고쳤다고 합니다. 그래서 이번 패치 이후부터는 완전 처음부터 플레이하는 게 좋대요. 하여튼 저 같은 경우 4만원에 구매해서 이미 현재까지 70시간이나 즐겼을 정도로 이 뽕을 잘 뽑았던 게임인데, 저는 이렇게 계속 새로운 업데이트가 되어주는 그 맛에 미리 구매했던 겁니다. 물론 이번에는 너무 오랜만에 나온 패치라 저도 이 게임을 완전히 잊고 있었고, 또 다른 사람들도 게임 유기했냐며 이 부정적 평가로 바꿔가고 있는 상황이었는데, 이게 알고 보니 제가 10월 말쯤에 이 스팀 평가에서도 더 이상 쓰잘데기 없는 자패치들로 시간 끌지 말고 좀 제대로 된 컨텐츠 좀 가져오라고 글을 남겼었더라고요. 근데 그 이후부터 진짜 매달 나오던 자잘한 패치들이 뚝 끊겼다가 이렇게 몇 달이 지난 지금에서야 거대 패치 알림이 떠 있었는데, 저는 이걸 보고 진짜 내 평가 보고 그랬나 싶었는데, 그건 당연히 말도 안 되는 소리고, 사실 그동안 문 스튜디오에 법적인 문제가 있었다고 합니다. 이걸 좀 짧게 말씀드리자면, 그동안 이 게임의 배급사가 프라이빗 디비전이었는데, 이번에 테이크투 인터랙티브에서 이 프라이빗 디비전을 매각하기로 했다고 합니다. 그래서 수개월간 협상을 한 끝에 이 No Rest for the Wicked의 판권을 다시 사들이게 되었고, 이 문 스튜디오도 완전히 독립할 수 있게 되었다고 하는데, 그동안 이러한 절차가 진행되는 과정에서는 그 내용을 알릴 수가 없었대요. 근데 앞으로는 완전히 독립이 되었기 때문에 이 No Rest for the Wicked를 더 자유롭게 제작할 수 있게 되었고, 또 더 이상 이 아무 소식 없이 침묵하는 일도 없을 거라고 합니다. 어쨌든 이번 패치까지 나오게 되면 작년에 남겨뒀던 로드맵 중 이 멀티플레이를 제외한 모든 내용들은 꾸준히 잘 지켜오고 있었던 셈인데, 제가 멀티플레이는 왜 안 나왔나 봤더니 이게 이번에 브리치 컨텐츠가 워낙에 방대해서 이거를 진행한 이후에 도입하기로 했다고 합니다. 한마디로 업데이트 순서만 바꾼 거고, 이번 브리치 업데이트 이후에 멀티도 추가된다고 보시면 된다 이 말이에요. 하여튼 제가 이 게임은 50% 복합적 평가를 넣었던 그 시절부터 재밌다고 추천을 했었다 보니, 그 당시에는 그 낮은 평가에 힘입어 저한테 무지성으로 억까하는 사람들도 있고 그랬었어요. 특히 그때 구글에 No Rest for the Wicked를 검색하면 누가 저를 욕하는 글이 하나 딱 떴었는데, 그때 그 글의 내용이 뭐였냐면, 이 카사노박이 갓게임이라 해서 해봤는데 개똥게임이더라, 걔가 갓게임이라고 개거품 물면 뭔지 알지? 하는 그런 내용이었어요. 좀 닥치고 좀 기다리 봐라 새끼야. 근데 개웃긴 건 어떤 사람이 저를 욕했던 그 동이라이프의 글쓴이가 그 이후로 남긴 글들을 한 번에 묶고 온 게 있었는데, 저번에 이 게임이 똥게임이라면 저를 욕할 때는 언제고, 갑자기 다음날은 애정이 많았던 게임인데 재밌는데 해가면서 계속 플레이를 하고 있는 게 아니겠어요. 근데 이 게임이 그런 게임입니다. 물론 다크 소울처럼 게으려워서 호불호는 좀 타겠지만 확실히 재밌는 게임은 맞으니 선동당할 필요가 없어요. 우선 이번 대규모 패치는 다음달 4월 30일에 출시된다고 하니, 혹시 이 게임을 아직 구매 안 하신 분들은 어차피 미리 사봐야 다시 시작해야 되니까 그때까지 찜만 해두시면 좋겠고, 저처럼 이미 구매하신 분들도 그때 맞춰서 딱 레벨 1부터 시작해보시면 어떨까 싶네요. 하여튼 지금부터 이 게임의 디렉터가 소개한 새로운 패치 내용들을 한글 자막으로 함께 보실까요? 자, 그럼 토마스!
Hey everyone, I'm Thomas.
And I'm Gennady. Welcome to our second Wicked Inside.
We know a lot of you have been eagerly waiting to hear more from us since we shipped our last major content update.
Right after early access launch, we spent weeks listening intently to your feedback while putting out numerous hotfixes and patches.
Then, after we felt that No Rest for the Wicked was in a good spot, we launched our first big content update, The Crucible.
With the Crucible, we introduced fresh enemies, brand new systems, and a fun mode to keep everyone entertained while we began work on our next major content update. But it's been a while since then, and today we'd like to explain why.
Our publisher for No Rest for the Wicked was Private Division, a subsidiary of Take-Two Interactive.
Take-Two decided to sell off Private Division, which was unexpected news for us. After some deliberation, we saw an opportunity.
After months of negotiations, we reached an agreement to buy the publishing rights for No Rest for the Wicked back so that Moon Studios could become fully independent. This legal process took time, and we couldn't say much while it was all happening.
But today, we're excited to announce that it's all done and that Moon Studios is now fully independent. We believe this will give you even more confidence in our vision because we're free to build No Rest for the Wicked exactly how we want without needing to ever go silent again.
We've used this extra time to create something truly special. Let's take a look at the breach.
The breach represents the biggest content update we have ever shipped. We have heard you loud and clear. You wanted more out of our campaign. You wanted more story, more zones to play in, more enemies to fight, more bosses to test your mettle against. In short, more of everything. And that is exactly what we have been focusing on.
Our story continues immediately following Ellsworth's return to Sacrament. He summons his daughter Odessa from her prison cell, and their exchange reveals more about their relationship.
Take the upper passage out, then leave by the northwest gate.
What are you doing?
God Bennett often sleeps on duty, and the ramparts above him will be unmanned. Head north to Irmgard and Merrin, or west to the Glades. Anywhere but here.
So that's it then.
You have to go.
As a Sarim, players will have to venture forth into new areas we're introducing for the breach. These are massive zones that essentially double the size of the world players got to explore so far. A lot has changed in the Sola Sacra since you've last visited. Southeast of Sacrament lies the Lowland Meadows, a once idyllic haven used by Sacrament's hunters to gather food and supplies. Ellsworth requests our presence on a secret mission, but a faction known as the Harvesters has taken over the region.
See? I told you this Sarim would come, and here they are.
Indeed. Your presence is welcome here. My friend is convinced that some threat awaits us at the Weeping Sisters.
As always at Moon, when it comes to level design, we deliberately craft every single inch of our world by hand. We do not rely on any procedural generation, and we believe that ultimately that will allow us to create an insanely expansive, interactive open world where every inch actually matters.
Throughout your journey through the meadows, you will encounter all new enemies. We have also introduced 2 new weapon archetypes, gauntlets and wands. Let's take a look at how these new weapons can be used to take down all new foes that you'll encounter.
The Timberwhite here will try to take your life with his ginormous great axe. We know some of you already loved being able to suplex enemies in Wicked. It was only appropriate we introduced a dropkick.
Wormwood wretches and Limseed archers will keep you on your toes with brutal range attacks. Our Tremor Wave will make quick work of them. Rust Reavers present an even greater challenge. Equipped with 2 huge saws, your best bet is to keep your distance and counter when you find an opening.
Deeper within the meadows, the Copse Treader will try to block your path forward. Study his movement patterns and keep a cool head. You might just prevail. Obviously, we are also introducing all new bosses for the breach, but we don't want to spoil everything just yet.
We know a lot of you already enjoyed how much love and care we're putting into all of these areas. Once again, we didn't shy away from really using verticality and hiding secrets everywhere. Even though you'll often fight for your life in all of these zones, every now and then you'll get to enjoy a serene scene of beauty. Things have changed in Sacrament too. Caretaker Alden has arrived in town to plead for help, dealing with the blight, a plague infestation destroying his home of Marin Village.
Excuse me, is it true that Governor Ellsworth has already gone north with that madrigal? The guard said as much, but I wasn't sure. Many doors in Sacrament stay shut to us, Dasha.
And if you exit Sacrament through its northwestern gate, you will find yourself in the once majestic Marin Woods. Recently, the Marin Woods have been befallen by the blight. It festered all throughout the woods, and players will have to find a way past it in order to advance. The Belaktor are ferocious fighters. The Stalkinche here knows how to wield a club, and if you're not careful, they might just call in reinforcements. Our new wands builds are surprisingly effective. We can cast ice darts to freeze our enemies. Cold Sling is a powerful ice evasion attack.
For the Heavy Feather, we'll use some more powerful spells our wands provide. We have since learned how to perform the Riven Twins Plague Explosion. And if you have enough focus, Lightning Bolt makes quick work of any enemy.
Halfway through Marin Woods, you'll encounter Marin Village, a peaceful woodland community of Isola Sacra.
First traveler I've seen in ages. I'm amazed you made it to our village at all, stranger. Hardly anyone comes here anymore.
10,000 blessings, Serim, for returning us to ourselves.
The villagers in Marin provide new services and sell different items than the ones in Sacrament.
My clod of a cousin's still hammering away in Sacrament. Figured they would have run him off by now. Chased them out of town with their crooked pitchforks and bent spears. Might as well give it here.
In Marin, we will also meet Odessa's godmother, Irmgard, a connection to her Dasha heritage.
I remember when my mother used to sing me to sleep. You did too. Same lullaby.
Will I see you there? All of us at one table again.
I'm not welcome in Sacrament.
And in a return to the Nameless Pass, we'll explore new areas within it, learning more about the forces of the mainland.
We will not tolerate any more doubt within your ranks, Primus. Not while we knock on salvation's door.
Discipline takes time. It's earned, not bought.
The born god disagrees. Discipline is forged. It is a tool molded in flame.
Meanwhile, we'll continue the story of Madrigal Celine and her vanguard, who seek to liberate the lost city of Kalen.
We're incredibly excited about this new chapter in our campaign, but we don't want to spoil everything just yet.
Our intention for No Rest for the Wicked was always to provide players with an insane amount of content, even after they finish the campaign. After the events that unfold throughout the Breach, our Spilled Blood questline continues as any area within Isola Sacra can now be overtaken by the Pestilence. Once an area is infected, you'll suddenly have to fight enemies that you never encountered before in these areas. Defeat these enemies, and they might just drop all new torn resources. Torn resources can be burned at any fire in order to further increase the challenge within an infected area. You will need to heavily upgrade your gear and perfect your build in order to succeed. But greater challenge also means greater rewards. Notice that with every enemy you slay, the pestilence spread meter at the bottom of the screen reduces. Slay enough enemies and you will have to overcome only one more obstacle.
Getting rid of the infection means ripping it out at its root. If you manage to defeat the plague boss within the infected area, the entire zone will be cleansed of the pestilence once more. Our life system has also gotten a huge update. You will now find many more factions being able to take over the various areas within Isola Saga. Our goal with all of this is to change the way players think about retraversal in video games. We ultimately want to make every return feel as fresh and as exciting as it was the first time you played. And as you can see, we also introduced entirely new levels within the areas you're already familiar with.
In order to aid players in achieving the perfect build, we introduced quite a few changes that will make progression a whole lot more streamlined and fun. First off, we have revamped the way gear drops. We replaced the tiered approach and came up with a formula that takes the player level, the area level and the enemy level into account, which results in an experience where any gear that drops will be approximately within your level range. Now, gear that used to only drop in earlier zones might just drop again, but at a higher level. We tried this out, and we ultimately see a much higher variety of gear throughout our playthroughs. We think it's a much more enjoyable looting experience.
Another big aspect that defines your build is, of course, the enchantments. So far, if your gear didn't drop with the enchantments you needed, your item would never reach its full potential. But we came up with a solution. If an item dropped with less than maximum possible amount of enchantments, you can now use a fallen ember to add another random enchantment to it. And if you have an enchantment on one of your items that doesn't quite fit your playstyle, fallen embers can now be used to re-roll that particular enchantment. Of course, fallen embers are also still used for respeccing your character, which makes embers insanely valuable now.
We also introduced a new weapon rarity, Masterworks. Any Masterwork starts out as just a common item. If you decide to forego the RNG aspects of Wicked, you can bank on gems in order to fully customize your item. Gems will now show you exactly what effect they'll have depending on which item you slot them into. In our case here, we want to craft a build that heavily relies on and synergizes with focus. The benefit of common items is that we can completely customize them. Once we've fitted the maximum amount of gems into them, they now become a masterwork.
In general, we've introduced a whole slew of new weapons, runes and armor sets. We've also iterated on our list of enchantments in order to enable the creation of entirely new builds, while ridding ourselves of the enchantments that led to overpowered builds. Given that and the new loot drop algorithm, the sky is the limit when it comes to build variety.
We also conducted a major balance pass on our stats, and we noticed that quite a lot of you didn't use shields all that much. So we changed the way they work. Instead of draining stamina, Shields are now based around poise and stagger, and we try to ensure that each shield archetype feels unique. So we can't wait to see all your new sword and board builds.
Last but not least, if you've become a master at playing No Rest for the Wicked, you should try our new hardcore characters. Permadeath is enabled for these, so once these characters die, they get downgraded to non-hardcore characters that can only be played on regular realms. I wonder who will be the first player to slay the Ekonite with a hardcore character.
Naturally, we also spent quite some time introducing a wide range of quality of life features and polished up what you've played so far of No Rest for the Wicked. For example, we've noticed that a lot of your houses looked similar to this one. Storage has always been incredibly important in any ARPG. On our current live builds, players can stack all that many items, and sorting hasn't been ideal yet. Let's switch over to our breach update. We fixed that right up and now allow players to stack a whole lot more items within their chests. And items now also get sorted in a beautiful way.
While we're in our home, we can show off another cool feature we added. We've added Whisper Stones, which enable fast travel to and from your house. So if you just want to quickly drop off items and gear while you're out and about, instead of having to first warp to Sacrament and then run to your home, you can now save that one step. Remember that you can place one Whisper Stone per house, so if you own multiple ones, you can even fast travel between them.
Our next change regards food cooldowns. We've removed the classic cooldowns entirely. Now you can consume meals instantly. However, your stomach is no longer a bottomless pit. You have a limited number of meals you can eat during combat.
You'll be able to upgrade this limit through Plague Ichor, letting you extend how many times you can heal or buff yourself in battle. This new approach aims to make combat more engaging and dynamic, rather than forcing players to just wait for a timer.
Time ticks ever forward.
We know timers and project wait times have been a major discussion point in our community. We're adding a new feature so you can contribute food and ingredients to make Adana's workers, speeding up whichever building project they're currently tackling. We're always listening to your feedback, and we will keep iterating on the system. If you have thoughts, please keep sharing them.
And of course, we've been hard at work meticulously optimizing performance. If you notice any poor performance in a machine before, the Breach update should drastically improve your experience. Speaking of improvements, our DLSS implementation has been updated to a newer version, which results in much crisper image and even better performance. And these are just a few highlights. In total, we are counting more than 11,000 changes since we shipped the Crucible update.
Before we dive deeper, we'd like to clarify how you'll access the breach. You will need to replay No Rest for the Wicked to fully experience this update. Old saves remain in a legacy build, but this approach ensures the breach is integrated as seamlessly as possible into the game. We realize this might be a surprise for some. Ultimately, the scope of the breach and the underlying changes led us here. But don't worry, you'll discover plenty of fresh content, quests, and loot to make restarting your journey worthwhile.
Let's discuss our roadmap next. It goes without saying that we will heavily support the breach for the upcoming weeks after launch. You will once again see us react incredibly quickly to all of the feedback you guys might provide.
But we're also already hard at work on our next content drops. We've received hundreds, if not thousands of pleas begging for the co-op update, and we know that our original roadmap had co-op before the breach. Rest assured, it will be the next thing we launch after this update.
The reason we ultimately decided to switch these updates was because we wanted people to have more content to play once co-op releases. With the Breach update, there will be now a lot more content to explore with your friends.
After the co-op update, we'll be following up with more improvements and new systems. We'll expand Sacrament, improve housing, introduce farming, expand the Crucible, and of course, finish the campaign with more story and more quests and bosses. We are very much aware that a lot of you finally want to play No Rest for the Wicked on all major consoles.
We have a ton of things planned to further improve on the foundation that we've laid so far, and we're excited to keep discussing all of these new releases and changes with you as we go along.